High performance tune-up magic. What in the world is this all about? Well, I'm a nerd too, and I like to start off with defining words. So I want to think about the word high performance, or the phrase, if you will, the hyphenated word high performance. And when I think about high performance, I like fast cars, fast motorcycles, things like that. So when you think about high performance, what you're trying to do is you're trying to achieve better than expected results, right? I don't want to be just regular. I want to be able to hold this up and say, wow, right? I want to be able to be better than what they expect, right? So when you think about high performance, what we want to do is we want to think about all the things that we do, whether it be our web presence, whether it be our ability to get people money financed, whether it be having a right marketing strategy, whether it be the person answering the phone, our person who is our director of first impressions. It doesn't matter what the role is. If everybody in the group that's a part of our team is focused on being better than expected, the results will follow. So high performance is one thing. Tune-up is the other piece of this puzzle. So let's look at that real quick. So if we define tune-up, a tune-up is maintenance performed on a system, whether that be a HVAC system or a car or whatever, to ensure that it continues to perform well, right? So maintenance, right? Maintenance, we got to stay in touch with that product or service to make sure that it's being taken care of. A couple of folks have already mentioned the importance of training and repetition. Well, maintenance is, well, I'm just glad I don't take a shower once a year, and you would be too if you were around me, right? So we maintain our health, we maintain our physical being, we maintain our homes, our cars. We got to make sure that people understand that maintenance is more than just showing up and changing a filter. There should be much more to it. In fact, the maintenance side of this equation, I've got the word safety, health, comfort, and efficiency down below. When I was teaching our service techs and my dad's business here at Holt Service Company in Georgia, one of the things that we focused on is we focused on safety first. And if you think about the value of having a trained professional come to your home to evaluate the safety of your system, first and foremost. I mean, that's worth something that's beyond money, because if your system is creating an unsafe situation because of things that are completely out of the homeowner's control. Like right now, my parents, neither one could crawl up in the attic and go check their furnace, or in the basement. They got one in the basement, they got one in the attic. They can't get up there. They're in their 80s. They can't crawl up there. They need a professional to come in there and look at their system from a safety standpoint. So you think about health, you think about comfort, you think about efficiency. When you look through all four of those lenses, maintenance, when we focus on those four areas, becomes much more than just cleaning a coil or changing a filter. So we got our two words defined. Let's think about vital signs. Okay, let's talk about health. Everybody understands bodies, right? Our human body. And there's tons of human vital signs. But the big one that shows up in this graphic is blood pressure. Well, why is that? Well, without blood pressure, we're dead, right? If we've got no blood pressure, we're gone. So what's the first thing people check? They check pulse, they check blood pressure. They're looking to see if the pump is working. But you know, every time you go to the doctor's office or to the hospital, hopefully you don't get put in that box over there on the right. You don't go in for an MRI every time you go in, right? What do? They do initial diagnostic testing to figure out what's going on from a vital sign. Well, what's that look like for an HVAC system? Well, HVAC system has vital signs as well. So if we look at that, click. If we look at that, we got different measurements, right? Instead of blood pressure, we look at static pressure, right? We're looking at the equivalent to blood pressure on the HVAC system. But notice the picture that I've got over there to the right. It's not just a piece of equipment. The HVAC system includes everything that system, that equipment is connected to. So the duct system, actually the structure itself becomes a part of the HVAC system, because really there's three components to a comfort system. There's the structure that the system is installed in. There's the mechanical equipment that you and I are very comfortable with and we understand how to work on. But the third and most important element is actually the occupants. Right? So when you put the structure, the mechanical system, and the occupants together, and you begin looking at how can I maintain a proper comfort level, a proper safety level, a proper efficiency level, a proper health level within that structure, it takes looking at all these different things. It's not just go in, change a filter, and rock and roll down the path. So where the HVAC system, the vital signs we start looking at begin with things like static pressure, because things like fan airflow and static pressure go hand in hand. Let's look at how that works. So if you think about vital sign test procedures, right? So in the healthcare situation, people will check your pulse, right? They'll check your blood pressure, and they're figuring out if your pump and your arteries and veins are working okay. On an HVAC system, we want to test static pressure. And if you test it and you put the information into a tool, like we've got an app that you can download at airmaxlight.com, where you can take 2 static pressure readings and you can kind of tell how well that system is operating. In fact, you can also text NCI to the number on your screen up there, and we'll send you a link where you can go download this thing direct. But think about if you went to the doctor's office and they never tested your blood pressure and they never weighed you and they never asked you any questions. They just looked at you and they said, take 2 aspirin, call me in the morning. Right? And they did that. You wouldn't be going back to that doctor, right? So we want to make sure that when we do these test procedures that we're following the right things. And here's an interesting thing. When you think about test procedures, let's go to the next slide real quick. When you think about these test procedures, the reason for test procedures is early detection, right? I want to identify opportunities to avoid catastrophe, right? So early detection refers to measures that can be taken to diagnose a problem as early as possible when the situation is easiest to remedy. Rather than wait for the thing to break down on the 4th of July, I'd rather take care of it now when it's not so hot, right? I can get to it right now. So high performance tune-ups feature early detection as a cornerstone, and they're looking at all 4 of those elements. So processes, my buddy Tom, who's our next presenter, has got a whole series of checklists that I'm sure he'd be happy to share with you if you ask. But here's the interesting thing. Why do I have those refrigerant hoses over there? Well, one of the problems is the maintenance processes that most of us use today on HVAC involve putting refrigerant gauges on a piece of HVAC equipment. Not necessary. It's a sealed system. If it doesn't have a leak, there's no need to check the refrigerant pressure every time. How in the world is that true? Find out more by going to more technical training. We'll show you how to do a non-refrigerant gauge maintenance process. You can check that out with NCI.